Hello dear students, we have almost come to the end of the second chapter, that is forces and motion, and the last topic for the chapter is linear momentum, under which we are going to learn firstly the basics or the definition of linear momentum. Then we are going to learn the statement of Newton's second law. Again, we have done it. You might wonder why we are doing it. We have done it in terms of force and acceleration, but now we will be dealing with Newton's second law with respect to linear momentum, which is a more proper way of stating second law. Then we will also learn the importance of linear momentum. All right. Then we are going to learn conservation of linear momentum. Okay. Then we are going to learn a few applications of the conservation of law of linear momentum. So these are the topics which we are going to discuss in today's class. Now we all have heard the term momentum, especially in the field of sports. Okay, the momentum of the player was lost, that's why he was not able to score this much. That is how we use the term momentum. But the root of the term momentum lies in physics. Okay, so what does this term momentum actually mean? It refers to, in simple language, it refers to the quantity of motion contained in a body. How much motion is present inside the body, or how fast the body is moving. That will be giving you an account of momentum. Okay. But momentum does not only deal with the speed or velocity of the body. Okay. It also deals with the mass of a body, because momentum also depends upon the mass. So in a gist, we can say that momentum is mass in motion. Momentum describes a mass that is in motion. All right. So from here, we can say that linear momentum depends upon two factors. Two factors on which the linear momentum of a body depends are, number one, mass of the object. Okay. And secondly, it depends upon the speed, or I will use the term velocity here, because linear momentum being a vector quantity, we are going to use velocity only because it is also a vector quantity. Okay. So linear momentum, signified by the letter P, depends upon mass. Okay. And linear momentum also depends upon velocity. So combining these two, the formula for linear momentum, P, happens to be mass multiplied by velocity of the body. This is the formula for linear momentum. If I want to write it in vector notation, I'll just put an arrow on the vector quantities here. It means that linear momentum is a vector quantity whose direction will be as same as the direction of velocity of the body. Okay, so this is the formula which you should remember for linear momentum. So writing the formula again, P, that is linear momentum, is equal to mass multiplied by velocity. We don't use m for momentum because m is already used for mass. All right. Now what will be the SI unit? SI unit for momentum will be equal to, unit of mass is kilogram in SI system, unit of velocity is meter per second. So SI unit of linear momentum is kilogram meter per second. All right. So here from the formula we can say that mass and velocity are equally important if you want to determine the linear momentum of a body, or if you want to compare two bodies with different masses, different velocities, then also linear mass, velocity are equally important. All right. Now, why is linear momentum required, or why do we use linear momentum at all in our day-to-day life. Linear momentum is important because it describes the relationship between mass, velocity and direction of a body. Okay, it gives you a relation between mass and velocity. It also gives you the direction of motion of a body. Secondly, it can also predict, we will see it later, it can also predict the speed and direction of two objects after they collide against each other. We have done collision in the previous class, isn't it? Force due to collision. Now after collision, what will happen to the body? Are they going to stand at the place of collision, or are they going to separate out? If they separate out, where are they going to be finally? Okay, and how much velocity will be acquired by the bodies finally, is all an application of linear momentum. All right, so this is the need of linear momentum in physics. Okay, so next we will now define or state Newton's second law of motion in terms of linear momentum. So Newton's second law, we have already stated, as I told you, in terms of force and velocity. That was a very simple statement. Now we are going to state it properly, taking momentum into consideration. Okay, Newton's second law states that the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force applied on the body. So if you apply a force on a body, there will be a change in momentum. Okay, and how fast the momentum of the body changes is nothing but the rate of change of momentum will be directly proportional to the applied force, and the change that is taking place in terms of momentum will be acting in the direction of force. Okay, that is the statement of Newton's second law of motion. Let me state it in front of you in full. It states that the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force, and the change takes place in the direction of the force. All right, let me give you an explanation in terms of a few mathematical terms for Newton's second law of motion. Okay, now suppose P is momentum. We know it already. Letter used to denote momentum is P. Now if there is a change in momentum, let the change be dP. D denotes change. Okay, so dP is change in momentum. Okay, if you want to find the rate of change of momentum, you have to divide it by the time interval. So let the time interval be dt. So if dP is the change in momentum, dP divided by the time interval, that is dt, will be equal to rate of change in momentum. All right, now according to Newton's second law, rate of change of momentum, that is dP by dt, is directly proportional to the applied force. Okay, so this is how we state Newton's second law mathematically, with the help of which we are going to derive the equation that we had used in the previous class. We had used F is equal to m into A, isn't it? In Newton's second law, we had used this one. Now we are going to derive. We will see how this came from by Newton's second law of motion. All right. So let me do it for you. Now you have seen that rate of change of momentum dP by dt is proportional to F. Okay, if I take the constant to be equal to 1, then dP by dt will be equal to F. After taking this sign out, when you replace it by equal to, you have to multiply it by a constant, and we have assumed the constant to be equal to 1, so 1 into F will be F. Or I can just flip the side. F is equal to dP by dt, or F is equal to D, I'll just copy the terms, but P, you know P is momentum, whose formula is mass into velocity. So here I will write m into v. Now mass, we are taking mass as a constant quantity, so we should not be taking this inside this difference term. Okay, so m, take it out. What remains? V remains, dv by dt, or let me do it on this side of the board. F is equal to m dv by dt means change in velocity with respect to time, which is nothing but acceleration. So m into a. So this is Newton's second law in mathematical form, which we had learnt in the last class and we have derived in today's class, starting with this expression, where the expression is the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. All right. So this is the formula which is very important in physics. Let us now see what is this conservation of linear momentum. Okay, conservation of linear momentum means if you have a system of two bodies of different masses or same masses, and their momentum, individually their momentum may change. Okay, but if you take into consideration the entire system, the total momentum initially and the total momentum at the end of whatever process is taking place in between the two bodies will be the same. I'll be explaining to you with a very simple example. Say you have got an object of mass m1. Okay, let it be initially moving with a velocity u1. It is approaching another mass. It is going to collide another mass m2, whose initial velocity is u2. So they are approaching each other. Okay, now at this time, momentum of this one first body will be m1 u1, and momentum of the second body will be m2 u2. That means mass into velocity. Okay, we have not used v because u is considered to be the initial velocity. Okay, now what will be the total momentum of the body? Just take the sum of these two objects. Okay, so this is the total momentum of the body before collision. Now they have not collided yet. Okay, now they have collided. After collision, say they start moving in two different directions. I will just take this as a diagram, m1, m2. Now after they collide, their velocities are going to change because they are under the influence of a colliding force. So let the velocity for this one be v1 and for this one be v2. Okay, u1 has now changed into v1, m1 remains the same, and u2 has now changed into v2. Now what is the momentum for the first body? It is m1 v1. Okay, momentum for the second body is m2 v2. So this is the total momentum. I will write 1 here, I will write 2 here. Total momentum will be m1 v1, that is momentum of the first body after collision because the velocity has changed. Okay, plus momentum of the second body after collision. So all this is happening after collision. All right, now according to the law of conservation of linear momentum, if there is no force acting from the outside on the body, there is a force which is in between the two bodies, but it is in between them, it is internal force. Okay, but if I don't add any other force on the two objects separately, then what happens? The total linear momentum before collision, that is m1 u1 plus m2 u2, will be equal to the total linear momentum after collision. So m1 v1 plus m2 v2. Okay, so if there is no external force acting on the system of two bodies, then the total linear momentum of the system before collision and total linear momentum of the system after collision is going to be the same. That is the law of conservation of linear momentum. So in brief, the law of conservation of linear momentum states that for an isolated system of more than one object, initial momentum, total initial momentum is equal to total final momentum, which we have done taking the example of two colliding bodies against each other. All right. So this is the law of conservation of linear momentum, which plays a very important role in our day-to-day life. Okay. While catching a ball, while rowing a boat, while firing a bullet, everywhere third law of motion comes into the picture, as well as the law of conservation of linear momentum. Let us see how. So here are the applications of the law of conservation of linear momentum. The first one is launching of rockets. Rockets propulsion is basically occurring because of the law of conservation of linear momentum. What happens? The rocket is filled with fuel. Okay, when the rocket rises up, the fuel is ejected. Okay, that means the rocket fuel burns, okay, and pushes the exhausted gas in the downward direction like this. If this is the rocket, then exhausted gas is pushed in the downward direction, producing a certain amount of linear momentum. Okay, because the gas has got mass, the gas has got velocity, multiply mass and velocity, it will be having certain linear momentum. Now, to conserve this linear momentum, the rocket needs to be pushed upwards for its propulsion. So actually, linear momentum is taking place in the downward direction, which has to be conserved. How it can be conserved? Only when some linear momentum is created in the upward direction to balance this linear momentum. All right, that is why the rocket can be launched in the upward direction. It is only because of the momentum of the exhausted gas. Okay. Secondly, second application is motorboats. Motorboats are used in water. Okay, so what happens? Motorboats, they push the water backwards. Okay, and to conserve linear momentum, like in the case of a rocket, the water will be pushing the motorboat in the forward direction. That is just to conserve momentum. That is how the motorboats can move forward in water as well. So first, the water has to be pushed backwards. Same thing happens when you row a boat also using an oar. The oar has to be rowed in the backward direction. Momentum will be in the backward direction. To conserve the momentum has to be produced in the forward direction so that the boat can move forward. Okay. Thirdly, it is difficult to hold hose pipe. Now, hose pipes are those big pipes which are used to extinguish fire. Firemen use hose pipes to extinguish fire. So what happens? The fireman tries to hold the mouth of the hose pipe. He finds it very difficult to balance his body. He feels disbalanced. It is because of linear momentum created in the forward direction, because the water is running with a lot of velocity. Okay, now he has to conserve the momentum. In trying to conserve the momentum, he will face that difficulty because he has to apply a lot of force. Okay, so that is why it is difficult to hold a hose pipe which ejects large amount of water with a great velocity. Because of the conservation of linear momentum, the fireman, with the help of his finger, has to conserve the linear momentum. All right. Likewise, a gun recoils after getting fired. Now, firing occurs in the forward direction. The bullet moves forward. The bullet has got certain mass. The bullet has got certain velocity after firing. Linear momentum is there in the forward direction, which needs to be conserved. Okay, so in order to conserve, the force is created in the backward direction. That means certain amount of velocity is created in the backward direction. That's why we feel a little jerk and we tend to go backwards after firing a gun. So these are the applications of the law of conservation of linear momentum in our day-to-day life. All right, so we will stop here. Let me give you a brief revision of what we have done in today's class. Firstly, we learned the theme, momentum. Okay, momentum is the product of mass and velocity. It means mass in motion. It gives you an account of how an object is moving forward. Okay, then we also learned that momentum depends upon mass and velocity. We also learned the unit of linear momentum. All right. Then we were able to state Newton's second law of motion in terms of rate of change of linear momentum. Then we could derive the expression F is equal to mass into acceleration, that is force is equal to mass into acceleration, using Newton's second law of motion. Then we studied about the conservation of linear momentum, taking two colliding bodies into consideration. We saw that total momentum of the system before collision is equal to total momentum of the system after collision, provided there is no external force acting on the system. And lastly, we learned these applications of conservation of linear momentum. All right, so that is all for today's class. See you all in the next class.